From the deepest reaches of the interwebs are two guys here to reveal the secret sauce in helping you develop multiple streams of internet cash flow. Share the knowledge without all the hype. It's the Internet Income Show.
Oh, I like that.
Now get ready for two regular dudes helping you become a smarter entrepreneur, get more out of life, and set you on the right path to becoming happily unemployable. Your host, Dr. Mike and Eric Louviere.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Internet Income Show, episode number 24. And thanks again for hitting that download button. I really appreciate you spending the time over the next 20 or so minutes on this week's podcast. Now, I was recently reading the blog of my good friend of mine, Gohar Chaudhry, who is an expert in CPA marketing. And he's quite an introspective fellow that I've got to know him. And he recently wrote 10 things he would have changed or something to that effect. 10 things if he could have told himself, go back in time 10 years from now, what he would tell his future self on what to do. It was a pretty interesting read, and, I've seen similar articles like this, and I thought, why not, use that as an example of a great podcast topic. So that's what I want to cover this week. Now, I've been involved in internet marketing. I've been involved in selling something in the internet since 1995. Close to that's 20 years. Been involved on the internet, actively teaching it and coaching it, other people, since 2004. So about 10 years I've been doing this, and I certainly have spent a lot of time, and a lot of money on different things, and I can think of all the crazy projects that I've been involved with, and it is. I certainly have hit some singles and doubles and hit a few home runs. But I've struck out a lot of times. I've fouled balls a lot, and to continue that baseball analogy, sometimes I never even get up into the plate. I've been involved in selling products, selling services, getting money through contextual advertising like AdSense. I run physical brick and mortar businesses, clinics, real estate, you name it. I've done a lot of different things. I've been involved in MLM and network marketing. So I certainly have seen a lot of different things. And I've gone through, and I've got the battle scars to talk about these things. So I wanted to share with you guys just some introspective things, things that some wounds, opening some wounds up here. Hopefully, we can close them again in a half hour or so. But I'm gonna, if I really spent some time with this topic here. If I was to change, if I could narrow down 10 things I wish I would have told myself back in 2004. Just when I was starting and coaching and getting involved in internet marketing, what I would have told myself. These are the 10 things I would have told myself. Okay. So, and these are in no particular order or anyhow. So let's just get the first one. The first thing I would tell myself, my 2004 self, is only invest in things that you understand. Only invest in things that you understand. Or another way, only get involved in businesses that you really understand. And I can think of, and looking back at the different projects and products I've been involved with, the ones that have been successful are things that I understand. I go into markets that I intrinsically know. Now, I've been involved in selling information products. I got a lot of products that I currently sell on the internet in a lot of different niches. I used to be known for, just being the niche king, being involved in really funny little markets. And I've had some success in it, but the ones that I really understood are the ones, that really made a significant difference, are the markets where I really, understood my audience, and I really understood, what I needed to change, or solutions that I needed to do to make it better if it wasn't working right. And in the areas that I didn't understand very well, those were pretty much failures, a pretty big failure. I'll give you one example. I was involved in, I had a partner who was involved in real estate several years ago, getting involved in properties, and I own some properties across on the other side of the United States, and I had hired a management team, and I invested this money into doing it, and I've pretty much I still have one property left, and just try to get rid of the other ones. And I'm sure I'm not the only person. Obviously, if you've been involved in real estate, you know how it tanked a few years ago, and things that were promised didn't happen. But not saying that I could have done something about it. But I didn't really understand it. I just know I had to put money in it, and something would happen. But if I, could understand the market a bit better, if I understood, what the winds of change, what was going on, maybe I could have done something about it. Maybe I could have understood, how to, dealing with things like weather and having to get things fixed, and dealing with being the owner, and dealing with tenants who don't respect your property. These are things that were a bit foreign to me, and I wish I would have understood it more. Same thing with network marketing. I've been involved in network marketing. I've had pluses and minuses, but I didn't really often understand the products that I was getting involved in. And the ones that I did understand, I did a lot better. The ones I didn't do so well. So that was number one. Number two, and this number two is something that I actually read in a book, and I can't remember what the book was, but it was from a multimillionaire. And this gentleman, it could have been Donald Trump, it could have been others, but generally he had many businesses, but he always wanted to see where his money went out. So the number two thing that I would have told my 2004 self is write your own checks. When you can write even if you've got, a lot of different companies, I got a lot of different businesses, but I try to write my own checks, or I have somebody, I know, what checks are being written out. So I know, what's going out and what are we spending it on. And if I don't, if there's something going on that I don't understand or why it's being mailed out, I can catch it, and then I can look at to see what kind of things are we using it. And sometimes, in the age of auto debits and things like that, one time I actually sat down and I looked at my business account, and I always described all these monthly things, and I didn't understand what the benefits were. I wasn't getting what kind of ROI I was getting back on some of these things, software, products, and services that I wasn't even using. So, pay attention to your financing. I've got a good accountant who keeps me on track, and a billing manager, so I understand what's going on. But just the act of actually having to write a check for somebody, I'm being responsible for that. Other times, I've had it where we had checks written out and I didn't understand. I was finding out where we were losing money because I wasn't keeping track of the finances. Number three, go with your gut and put trust in someone, but to a certain extent, and that's to a certain extent in parentheses. I've been involved in deals where, we've had attorneys and we've signed and we've gotten back and forth. And then I've been involved in deals which just ended up with a handshake. And I'm a big believer in first impressions. And if I don't get a big believer in first impressions, I'm a big believer in second impressions. But oftentimes I can, maybe as a doctor and I'm used to seeing a lot of patients come in, and sometimes they're telling me the truth, and sometimes, most of the time they're telling me the truth, sometimes they weren't, and for other different reasons. But I'm a pretty good judge of character. And for the people I want to do business with, it's not often because they've got I think it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and they want a joint venture on it. It's because I have a good feeling about that person. And there's some deals that I've been involved in where, I've heard some things later on or early on, And I ran into some deals where, you know, I try to give people the benefit from the doubt. You know? And it even turns to, when you're hiring an employee. You know, I had this one employee who's going to be a salesperson, and everything looked good on the resume. And then I started to look at some other things, and I checked up on the references, but I didn't check it, as diligent as I should be. And then I found out that there are things that, he just ended up being a terrible salesperson. And it was because of the things that in my references, I initially got a question mark from. And then I just said, well, I really need a good salesperson. He seems like he's doing the job. He seems to be enthusiastic. But, I didn't go with my gut, even though my gut was telling me to run the other way. Same thing with joint venture partners. I've had great ones. I've had decent ones as well. But oftentimes, it's that feeling that you get in the pit in the stomach where you're saying, you know what, this just isn't the right time for me. And don't feel pressure to do something on there. It's always good to, I would tell myself, and just as an adjunct to this, number 3 is to basically, wait before making a monumental decision. Sometimes it's good to sleep on it before you do something that could be potentially life-changing. Number 4, and speaking about gut, working on your health as much as your business. Now, I've always been a bit overweight on there, and recently, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to, work on myself, the temple, as you will, that I do on my business. And I'm pretty, diligent. I try to be a productivity, worker when it comes to nut, as you will, on my business. But oftentimes let my own health to the detriment, working on the computer, staying up late, not getting enough sleep. I was averaging sometimes 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And you don't have to be a doctor to know that that's not enough time. The body needs time to rejuvenate. The cells need to have time to grow and expand. And it just wasn't the right thing for me. I ended up gaining some weight. But over the last year, I've been really committed to working on my health. I've been involved in just, decreasing the amount of whites that I eat. So that's your carbs, that's your rice, potatoes. Exercising. They say you need at least 150 minutes of exercise a week. Got involved in playing some pickup basketball and things that I like to do. And got involved in yoga. I've been involved in juicing. Just watching what I eat and basically watching portion size. And I'm down about 20 pounds this year. And I just feel great. I feel like I have more energy. I feel like I have more stamina. And it really, I think, is reflected on my business and businesses. So I would tell my much thinner self back then is to just work on your health as much as you do on your business. At the end, that's really what it's about, is to, maintain a healthy balance in your life and your work. Number 5 thing I wish I would have told myself: when things are going great is when you should be the most productive. When things are going great. I've had some really spectacular launches that I've been involved in, and 7-figure launches that I've been involved in. And I remember just being unproductive for the next 6 months to a year on that. Now, of course, we were doing things and fulfilling and all those kinds of things, but I wasn't really growing my business. I was basically being status quo. And I felt myself being very apathetic to doing things like that. And we've all been there. Things are going great. We're content. That's often that's often the time as an entrepreneur is when you should be the most vigilant on there. Because what would happen is sooner or later things are going to change, and it may change for the worse. You need to be protected against that. And there are some things that in my business where I definitely saw the cracks were being formed, but I wasn't paying attention. Things were doing well, and everything was going great. But those are the times when you got to even be more productive. Use that time, invest that money into different projects. Keep looking for new things. You never know what's going to be around the corner. Number 6. When you hire someone who's good at least doing one thing great. So when you hire someone who does at least one thing great. Now, just looking at it from afar, I've known in some, in the internet marketing, about a few years ago, there seemed to be a trend for a lot of these gurus where it seemed like whoever could have the most employees wins the internet. And I know some people who would have 1 employee, 5 employees, 10 employees. I knew one who had like 50 to 100 employees on there. And then their business over time, when you have a lot of employees, you have a lot of overhead. You have a lot more money going out of your business. You had people in businesses that weren't doing anything really good. And luckily I've been able to keep a productive but small ship. I've got a core number of staff and employees that I have. But what I found out is when I hired somebody who was like jack of all trades, the people who are most productive are the ones who are like good at like one thing. And a lot of times, I've had an office, a physical office that I've gone to ever since I've been involved in their marketing. And a number of you don't. But, I agree with you. There are things that you can do with outsourcing where you can have one person just great at that one thing. But when they try to do other things, they're just not as good. So it's easier to have somebody. You don't need to have a big staff. A lot of times it seems to just, reflects on your own ego. But you can hire somebody who's just like good at one specific thing. Hire someone as an outsourcer to do videography, video work, okay? That person's just great at that. Someone who just does Facebook. Someone who just does, LinkedIn. They maybe say they're great at social media, but maybe they're not great at LinkedIn, but they're, stellar at Facebook. You can hire somebody to do just specific tasks. And that's why I like things like Fiverr. You can find someone just doing good at that one thing very, very inexpensively. You don't need a big staff. When you try to hire a jack of all trades, you can have time like a virtual assistant or something like that, but they may not be great at, getting on the phone and doing sales on there. You want to hire that salesperson who has a track record of doing great for just that one thing. Number 7. Oh, this is one of my worst. And I think Goher had the same thing, but, sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes you have to say no. Or, in parentheses, you can't please everyone. Everybody wants to be liked, right? Nobody wants to be disliked. If you ever read if you've heard the last episode, I talked about one of my favorite books was How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. The last thing he wanted to do was please everybody. And he pissed off a lot of people along the way to get to where he wanted to be financially. And I often, I try to be the good guy, right, on there, but oftentimes it's often mistaken for just, letting things slide. Or, when you're being the boss, you have to be making authoritative decisions. You're not there to be just friends on there. And I see some bosses who just end up being friends, but then they end up, being taken advantage of. And that happened to me a few times on there because I tended to look the other way because I didn't want to upset the person. But at the end of the day, if the business isn't as growing as it should be, you won't have the income to pay for them and employees. it also comes down to joint ventures. And, the thing in the internet marketing world, as you know, a lot of people promote things on different lists. And it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine, I'll promote your product, and you promote mine. So I had situations where I promoted somebody, it didn't do as well when they promoted it, so they ended up promoting me, or they promoted to a list that was much smaller than what they had promised on there. Things like getting paid in terms of affiliate commissions, that happens a lot. Not a lot, but it has happened to me. Some of the biggest names that on there who aren't paying out their affiliate commissions on there. And you look the other way, or you just shrug your shoulders on there. The thing is, you need to be, if you let people just walk all over you, they're not going to respect you. So, but you also have to find out, who are you doing this for? Are you working for other people's business, or are you building your own? At the end of the day, you gotta stick to what you want to do, and you can't say yes to everything on there. Sometimes it's okay to say no. You can't please everybody. Number 8. This is probably one of my favorite ones. Use screen capture video to teach everything. Use screen capture video. When you go and let's say you hire someone to outsource, and maybe there's a language barrier, maybe there isn't, and you go back and forth with emails, maybe with your virtual assistant, and nothing gets done. The best way to eliminate communication is by using screen capture video. You can use, sometimes they have it built into Windows or Mac. I know QuickTime Player now allows you to record video. You can use ScreenFlow. You can use Camtasia. You can use Jing at techsmith.com/Jing when it records for 5 minutes. But what you want to do, if you've got something that you can demonstrate that, on the computer, you can use screen capture video where you can talk and relay things to you. So, I've had it where we've been using people to email or go into my Aweber account and email for me, or having them do research, and then I can show them the different websites and what I'm looking for, and they can see it exactly on my screen. And what that does is not only is going to give you a better product or better result in terms of your project that you hope to get accomplished, what it does is you now have a record. You now have a record of things that, if something, knock on wood, something bad happens to you, or you're not able to work, you have somebody who's he already created all these videos for us to actually look at. Or let's say that freelancer that you hired, they're not doing as well as you would have liked. You decide not to keep them, or you fire them. Now you've already got the video because you've already done it. Oh, I already created this video. You can use it. So you can use it as your own handbook for your own business. And so what I have on my computer is a series of different videos on everything that's involved in my business, so somebody can go in and just do exactly what I can do, and I don't have to take the time to actually go sit down and train them. And you can do that with anything related to on your computer, as long as it can be seen on screen capture, or seen on the computer. You can then play that video for anyone. That's a great way, great time saver for you. And again, you don't have to go and repeat the same things again and again and again. Number 9 of what I wish I would have taught myself 10 years ago. Have weekly meetings. Have weekly meetings. When I've seen projects that really suffer, or things that go away, is because I've lost communication. And it's very easy on the internet, right? And especially if we've got outsourcers, we've got joint venture partners who may be, on the other side of the country, outside the state, maybe even, on the other side of the world on there. You're not physically meeting with them. When I was involved in working at a clinic, I used to work for the Indian Health Service. We would have what we called morning huddles. Now, it's not like, we're going to hug or anything like that. I would get together with my nurse, the medical assistant, and we'd have a list of patients that we would need to see for the day. And we basically went in for 5 minutes, just basically, okay, here's what we need to do. Here's what we can anticipate. Mrs. Jones might be calling in. Just things that on our schedule that we can anticipate, and it's made for a much smoother day. Now, these days, I'm not always in my office, every morning, but what I do try to have is a weekly meeting, generally on a Monday or a Tuesday or, at the beginning of the week, where I go through the different projects that I'm involved in, what tasks we need to do, and I go down the list. And what also helps too is I get their feedback from my staff as well of what needs to be done. It just makes everything smoother. And I have, if it's not a physical meeting, it can be in a meeting on Skype, on a Skype chat. I think that's probably the most beneficial to actually seeing them, if not a phone call. And you have to schedule it. You have to go in the calendar and schedule that time, or it won't get done on there. Try to have a weekly meeting, or at least every 2 weeks. Ideally, the best is day. It'll make your week productive. It only takes a few minutes, but very important thing that you can do in your business. And then finally, the 10th thing, and I think although it's the last, it's probably the most important. It was to be a question that I had for myself. This is what I would ask myself in my 2004 self. What are you doing all of this for? When I originally, left my clinical practice, it was to have more time spent with my family. And for a time that did happen. But then, as more and more projects came about, I was spending a lot more time away from them. And even if I was, instead of being at a clinic a few miles away, or even if I was in my home office a few feet away, I was still really, really busy. Whether I was coaching someone, whether it was working on a new project. Now, I spend time and really, sometimes you gotta, you may have heard this phrase before. It's a phrase that my son, 16-year-old son, taught me. It's called enjoy the burrito. That may sound really strange. There's this podcast that we listen to called The Nerdist. It's kind of about geekdom and pop culture. A guy by the name of Chris Hardwick. And he told this story about where he got the phrase eat the burrito. And he often says that at the end of his podcast. And basically, he had a friend who was a struggling Hollywood actor. And he would be involved in, going from audition to audition, not getting the part. It was very, very stressful of you working. And he'd have these very long days. But the only time that he could actually felt that he got satisfaction is he had this taco stand that he loved. And he would sit down, for a few minutes and order a burrito. I don't even know what type of burrito it was. But he would sit down and he had to tell himself to enjoy the burrito. And basically what it is just basically sometimes you have to step back and enjoy life. And really have that gratitude, on really understanding, what happened great in my day. I'm breathing in oxygen and blowing out carbon dioxide. I have my health. I have a place to live. I have food on the table. I have a shelter. I have friends and family. Even if maybe some of you are going through some really difficult times on there, is to have that gratitude on there. And in our busy lives, we don't often sit down and smell the roses or, enjoying that burrito. So that's what I would tell myself, is to ask myself, what am I doing this for? Because at the end of the day, you can be a millionaire or a billionaire, but if you're not, being content in what you have and enjoying, your life with your family and friends, what is it all worth it? Why are you actually doing this business? So those are the 10 things I like. I hope you got something out of it. I enjoyed putting it together. I want to thank you again for listening to another edition of the Internet Income Show. This is Dr. Mike. Until next time, keep moving forward.
You just listened to the Internet Income Show with Dr. Mike and Eric. Now, get to work.